Sentiment has switched, and it has switched fast after Tesla's 13% move on earnings last night. Let's get into why that happened. What is going on, guys? Welcome back for another Tesla rant video. In today's video, we're going to be covering Tesla's earnings from last night, their earnings call, a sentiment change on Wall Street, and then the results of the earnings call last night. All right, so first and foremost, if you've been in Tesla for the past 2 weeks, past week really, this video sums up the sentiment on Twitter, on Wall Street. Everyone has been bearish. Everyone has been looking for downside. Everyone's been calling for 100. Everyone's been calling for 50. What ends up happening in these scenarios is when a stock is going down or when a stock is going up, people are looking for how far it is going to go in that direction. In this case, Tesla was going down, and it was going down quite rapidly, so people wanted to know how far down it was going to go. People are calling for 100. People are saying that it's a crap stock. It's going to go all the way down to 40. And then you also have events like this where, from Dekmar Trades last night, and this sums up all the sentiment on Twitter. Dekmar Trades, all in on Tesla tonight. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing and why. Tonight I will be looking to do $10,000 worth of puts on Tesla, and then he lists all the reasons: oversaturation, layoffs, lack of insider buying. 1, 2, 3, and pretty much all these points that he's saying in this post is all the points that Wall Street had, all the points that everyone on FinTwit had. Everyone was expecting the stock to drop, and what usually happens when you have sentiment that way is you have a whiplash effect to the opposite side. So in this case, 95% of people were bearish on Tesla. We have 5% of those people are bullish. When Tesla has news that wasn't as bad as expected, you're going to have a whiplash effect in the opposite direction. The same goes for when trading futures on QQQ or ES. When you have the tilt at 95%, 90%, 85% on one direction, you have a whiplash effect to the other side because people are not prepared for news that really is the opposite of what they were expecting. And just to cover the tweet that he made here from Dekmar, oversaturation, the EV market is oversaturated. Talking about IG influencers for whatever reason, layoffs. Tesla obviously laid off 10% of their workforce last week. Lack of insider buying. The list goes on, but what he's saying and what he's wrapping up from FinTwit is, hey, we're bearish on Tesla along with 98% of traders. We're going to short it. Even though it's made a $20 drop in the past week, we're still going to short it down. And then we go over to the chart, and what ends up happening here is if we even just look at the earnings results, Tesla did miss on both EPS and revenue. They missed by 8% on EPS. They missed by 4% on revenue. But they continue to pump even before the earnings call. They had a 7% opening candle right before the earnings call started at 5:30. They peaked at 10%, and then Elon came out and released a whole crap load of good news for the company, good news for the future of the company. We're going to dig into that shortly. But because everyone was short, people were not prepared for this move up. So what happens is the shorts, which I'll also cover later in the video, the shorts that were in Tesla for this earnings call, they have to cover almost immediately to avoid a significant loss on their position. If they don't, they end up losing more than what they actually put into the position, and that's exactly what happened with GameStop and AMC all that time ago. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go down some of this list from ZA Stocks. This is a list recapping the earnings call from yesterday. Thank you very much to ZA Stocks for doing this. The first 2 points and the biggest points of the entire earnings call, and another reason for Tesla's continuation up to 168 today, is the low-cost vehicle and the RoboTaxi, or Cybercab as Elon called it on the earnings call. The low-cost vehicle is going to be $25,000, and it might also qualify for the $7,000 EV credit from the federal government. That is going to bring the cost of this vehicle down to $18,000, which is absolutely insane for right now. For this economy with interest rates where they are, an $18,000 payment for a car is insane. The next thing, and this is the biggest point of the entire earnings call, RoboTaxi or Cybercab. So this is what the visual for the Cybercab will look like. We don't know what he's going to call it yet. RoboTaxi, Cybercab, ride hailing is what the app's called. So what you do on your phone, it's going to be a fleet of 5,000 to 10,000 RoboTaxis that Tesla owns. They're going to deploy in metropolitan areas. What you're going to do on your phone is you're going to just open the Tesla app. You have this summon button on your phone. It is going to bring a cyber taxi to your location. Next screen here, we have a 3-minute away destination. The only thing that you can do in that meantime is you can set the climate. I'm not sure if you can play music in it. I'm not sure if you can really do anything else while you're waiting for the cab. But say you're getting out of a meeting, you need a taxi, you can reserve it in your meeting, walk down the stairs, the cyber taxi will be there waiting for you. It says arriving now, and then you set your destination. So in this case, it's Stanford Shopping Center. It's a 15-minute commute, 3.1 miles. The basis of the cost for the RoboTaxi, so it's going to be a fleet that Tesla owns. The user is expected to pay 2 times the cost of the current kilowatt hour charging. So if it costs you 30 cents to charge a kilowatt hour on your Tesla, you're going to pay 60 cents per mile on that trip. So even though the Tesla might not use a kilowatt hour, you're still paying 60 cents per mile. In this case, you have a Stanford Shopping Center 3.1 mile trip. You're going to pay $1.80 for this commute. 15 minutes, $1.80. You have the car there ready on your phone. You set the trip up already. You set the climate in the car. Maybe you can play music. Just listen to music on your phone. The car has no steering wheel. There's no gas pedal. It just picks you up, brings you to your destination. There's no one that you have to tip. There's no driver that needs to take $10 to $15 minimum wage. You just spent $1.80 to travel 3.1 miles. Never heard of before. So the next thing I'm going to talk about here, and I'll leave the list up in the background so you guys can read it while I'm discussing some other points from the earnings call. The next point is that what happens if an individual wants to buy RoboTaxi? What are you going to do? You have the ability to do so. So if you have a family of 5, let's say the dad needs to get dropped off at work at 6 a.m. Then the little Johnny over here needs to get dropped off at school at 7 a.m. And then little Susan, she has ballerina practice at 8 a.m. You can schedule the car to drop each respective family member off without needing a driver to go and drop them off physically. So say the mom also has work in the morning. She's not going to be able to go and drop everyone off at their respective times. You can schedule the car and say, hey, I need to be at work at 6 a.m. My son needs to be at school at 7, and my daughter needs to be at practice at 8. You can schedule that cyber taxi. I'm going to call it a cyber taxi or cyber cab. You can schedule that cab to drop you off at work, and then it will go back, pick up your son, drop him up at school, go back, pick up your daughter, drop her off at her practice. And then if you're not using the car for the rest of the day, the car will go out and start picking up other people, and you will receive some income from that, the use of that cyber cab, cyber taxi. And then when you want the car back, it will drop off whoever it has. It won't book any more meetings. It won't book any more pickups, and it will come pick you up, drop you back off at home. If you want to send it back out again, you can. If you don't, and you just want to leave it in your driveway, you can do that as well. Read this as well. I'm just covering the major points from the earnings. So the next thing is that Cybertruck is expected to start ramping up to 1,000 vehicles per week. Right now they have about 700 per week. They're facing inventory challenges. They expect to ramp more in upcoming months. They had a minor setback with the acceleration pedal. They just had to put a little rivet in it, but for some people it was slipping out because the glue would come off. Most of the earnings call surrounded the cyber cab and the RoboTaxi, as well as the $25,000 car. We'll get more news on that. I said somewhere here. We'll get more news on that on the 8/8 unveiling event. The big thing that I want to discuss here, so I'll look into some TA on Tesla afterwards, but the big thing I want to discuss is that this is a perfect example of how you can use FinTwit to your benefit. If you go on FinTwit and you see a tweet like this, okay, it's got 970,000 views. It's 900,000 people that saw a good, valid reason to go short on Tesla, but they didn't understand that the price was already priced in ahead of time. Tesla's earnings came out. It wasn't as bad as people are expecting, but it wasn't good either. So it moved up that 7%. Shorts had to start covering, and then Elon came out and released absolutely monumental news for Tesla for the next 12 to 16 months. And that's the time frame that the market prices in these moves. The market likes to look ahead a year to a year and a half in advance, just like the market likes to look ahead 2 to 3 weeks advance in these micro time frames versus macro time frames. So Tesla's earnings was expected to be piss poor for the past 2 to 3 weeks. So what we're going to do is the week before earnings, big money is going to price in that shitty earnings report, which is what we got. Earnings wasn't actually as bad as they were expecting, so we got a nice 7% pop up. We had some wild cards thrown into that earnings review. One of them was FSD revenue, which ended up being $700 million. What ended up happening is shorts saw this instant move up and they had to start covering. They tried dipping it back down in the second candle, didn't work, it got bought up. And then Elon comes out and releases this monumental news. Oh shit, we gotta go cover our shorts. And then the stock continues to push up and we got a nice pop up to 168 today. TA wise on the daily for Tesla, we did have this huge trendline bounce. I'll go to the weekly time frame here. We had this huge trendline bounce that really no one was expecting to actually see. Everyone was expecting a break through this trend line, and they thought, oh, this is going to be the last time that we have this trend line bounce. We're going to break down, go all the way down to 100. That is, again, going to spin to it and looking at what the sentiment is. The sentiment was 95% bearish. Again, you have tweets like this that are going basically viral. I mean, almost 1 million views. That's 1 million people that might look at this and say, hey, I'm going to go short Tesla too, and then that just adds fuel to the fire. So what I expect for Tesla's macro time frame is, again, remember the market likes to price in these moves a year to a year and a half ahead of time. Tesla should most likely continue back up to this 200 price point. At the very least, we see this trend line resistance again. This is from July of 2023. It also goes all the way over here to October of 2021. We should see a nice increase up to this price point, and that's right around 220, maybe 2, 3, 4 months from now, and then we'll likely have a rejection back down, and we'll make a pennant right here, and then we'll break either up or we'll break down. The big point here is that sentiment changes and sentiment changes fast. It was very, very difficult even for myself to hold Tesla through the news last week, just because it was brutal. I mean, we went from 170 all the way down to a low of 138 on Tesla last week. We had earnings yesterday. Earnings came out, surprised everyone. It's very difficult emotional game sometimes, and what you need to do is you need to realize, just going and looking at the news articles from this morning, sentiment can change on a dime. Sentiment doesn't need to be down. It doesn't need to be up 100% of the time. What ends up happening is you have events like this earnings call that serves as a catalyst for that sentiment to change. You have a whiplash effect because too many people are short. Sentiment is too far to one side, and then you get an evening out event. Shorts need to cover. People are realizing, hey, the company's not actually all that bad right now. I'm going to go invest in it. So overall, I think this was a phenomenal earnings call. This was the first one that we've had in the past 6 earnings that Elon didn't mess up. He actually started stating, hey, I'm putting those 12 to 16-hour days back into Tesla. He is in wartime mode CEO. I think the company has prospect to go back up to that 200 price point. And what I'm going to make sure I don't do is I'm going to make sure that I don't paper hand this trade, and I actually make sure that I milk the entire gain out of it. But hopefully next time that we talk, next time you guys see a video from me, we will be back up in that 170 to 180 range. We just about hit 170 today. We should see quite a few shorts covering for the rest of the week. I believe they have until Friday to get out of their short-sided positions. Until then, we should see a pretty good continuation up. I mean, the market should price in. FSD is expected to quadruple Tesla's revenues based on that earnings call, so we should see a good 50, maybe 70% move up over the next 6 to 8 months, but we shall see. I will see you guys next time. Make sure you go and drop a like, subscribe. If you guys have comments on the videos, any criticism at all, let me know. Drop them in the comments. I will see you guys next week. Peace.